We're going to start, though, with a landmark case which has seen both Manchester City and the Premier League claim victory today. City challenged the Premier League's associated party transaction rules on commercial deals, and they say today's ruling by an arbitral tribunal shows those rules to be unlawful. They also say the league abused its dominant position. However, the league had this to say in response. The Premier League welcomes the tribunal's findings, which endorse the overall objectives, framework and decision-making of the APT system. The tribunal upheld the need for the APT system as a whole and rejected the majority of Manchester City's challenges. Moreover, the tribunal found that the rules are necessary in order for the league's financial controls to be effective. The decision represents an important and detailed assessment of APT rules, which ensure clubs are not able to benefit from commercial deals or reductions in costs that are not at fair market value by virtue of relationships with associated parties. These rules were introduced to provide a robust mechanism to safeguard the financial stability, integrity and competitive balance of the league. The tribunal did, however, identify a small number of discrete elements of the rules which do not, in their current form, comply with competition and public law requirements. These elements can quickly and effectively be remedied by the league and clubs. In the meantime, the Premier League will continue to operate the existing APT system, taking into account the findings made by the tribunal. So, our chief reporter, Kaveh Solhekol, is here. Right, Kaveh, both sides claiming to have won. How did we get to this point?
I think it's probably most useful to say we should start in 2021, when the Saudi Arabian Sovereign Wealth Fund bought control of Newcastle United. The mood amongst the other clubs in the Premier League was one of concern, because they were concerned because they thought Saudi Arabia, one of the richest countries in the world, was buying a Premier League club, and they were going to do lots of allegedly inflated deals with other Saudi Arabian companies to get money into Newcastle United, and they were going to use that money to buy players like Mbappe and Neymar, and they were going to totally distort the competitive balance in the Premier League. So some of the clubs thought, we need to do something about this. We need to strengthen our financial rules. And so now we've got these associated party transaction rules. And basically what they mean is that if you are a club and you want to do a commercial or a sponsorship deal with a company that is connected to the owners of your club, this deal has to be at fair market value. You basically have to send it to the Premier League. They've got a process. A panel looks at it to make sure that it is fair market value, that it is not inflated. So you're not getting money into the club by the back door. Now, these rules were amended in February, and Manchester City and some other clubs as well believe that these rules are a step too far. Manchester City believe the rules are unlawful under UK competition law. That is why they took the unprecedented step of mounting this legal challenge against the Premier League. There was a hearing during the summer, and today we have received the judgment. Some of it has been redacted, but Manchester City believe they have secured a very, very important and significant legal victory against the Premier League over these APT rules.
But both sides are claiming victory. So what did the judgment actually say?
Well, look, the judgment is what, something like 170 pages. The facts are, at the end of those 170 pages, I think on page 164, we have the findings in black and white. And I'm sorry this answer might take a little bit of time, but I think it's very important that we go through what the findings are on the final page. The findings are that the APT rules and the amended rules in February are unlawful because they exclude from their scope shareholder loans and for no other reasons. What that means is another way of putting money into your club, if you're an owner, is to lend the club money. And we've seen lots of Premier League club owners do that. Sometimes these loans are interest-free. So this finding states that these shareholder loans should also be part of the APT rules, and they should be judged for fair market value as well. So very, very important. But it starts off by saying the rules are unlawful because they exclude from their scope shareholder loans. Second point, the APT rules are unlawful on account of being procedurally unfair. Procedurally unfair. And what they're getting into there is that when you want to do a deal with a connected party, you have to submit that deal for it to be looked at by the Premier League. And one of the things that the Premier League board does is consult a data bank of past deals that have been done. So to make sure that the deal you want to do is fair market value. Now, it has been found that that is procedurally unfair because clubs like Manchester City don't have any access to that information. So if the Premier League board turns around and says, you can't do this deal with this company because you are inflating it, it's not fair market value, we've checked with our data bank, Manchester City should be able to say, oh, can we see those figures as well? Because we need to question those figures. So that is very important as well. And it has found that, for instance, a deal that Manchester City tried to do with the Etihad Airlines Group, the Premier League's decision with regard to the transaction was reached in a procedurally unfair manner because Manchester City didn't have access to the benchmark figures for those kind of deals. Also the same, procedurally unfair when Manchester City submitted a proposed deal with First Abu Dhabi Bank. And finally, the findings are that the Premier League, when it came to making the decision about the proposed deal with First Abu Dhabi Bank, there was an unreasonable delay of 3 months. With a proposed deal with Emirates Palace, there was an unreasonable delay of 2 months. So it's there in black and white. If you're confused, if you're saying, how come on the one hand the Premier League is saying we won, on the other hand Manchester City are saying we won, you can look at it, it's online. If you don't have time to read all 170 pages, you can go straight to page 164 where the findings are there in black and white.
OK, I've taken on board everything you just said there. I read out the Premier League statement when we went into this. How did the Premier League get to claim victory then?
I think what Premier League would say is, OK, the panel found that there were some procedural issues with our rules and two things in particular that we need to amend. But overall, they have not found that these rules are unlawful. And overall, the panel have agreed and endorsed our rules and accepted the principle of having these rules, because we don't want to have a situation where clubs can do commercial deals with companies who are connected with their owners as a way of putting money into the club and inflating their income. Because if they inflate their income, that means they can spend more on transfers and wages, and that would distort the competitive balance of the Premier League. I think that would be the Premier League's argument. They would say, yes, we lost on a few little points, but overall, the tribunal have backed what we're trying to do. I think Manchester City, on the other hand, would say, read the full judgment and especially go to page 164, where in black and white it says the APT rules are unlawful because they exclude from their scope shareholder loans and for no other reason.
Kaveh Solhekol, our chief reporter, thank you very much.